There's gonna be spoilers, but not really. Only if you haven't read the book or what I've read from the book, if that makes sense. Hey, I'm Amy and welcome back. It is It Chapter 2 day. I'm so excited. I've been waiting for this movie for 2 years, ever since the first It came out. Even though I didn't have the best take on that film the first time I watched it, because I hadn't really gotten into horror as much as I have now. But I'm pretty sure this was one of my top 5 most anticipated films of the year. I was so excited for it. I was nervous to go into it because I am still working up to being a fan of horror movies, so all of the jump scares I was still very nervous about. Did not help when I was in the theater that I was sat next to a girl that screamed at every jump scare, and it kind of was distracting when I was trying to, soak in the entire atmosphere. So I feel like I really want to see it again, and I did only see it in digital. I wanted to see it in Dolby. I had tickets for a Dolby, but I wanted to see it earlier, so whole big thing. I'll probably go see it in Dolby sometime soon because I feel like that would just be a great experience. But let's talk about It Chapter 2, the new It movie. I did a review on the original It series, this one on last Tuesday. What's today? A week ago. You can check it out up there. I actually fully enjoyed it. I am reading the book. I am only like 70 something pages in, so all the spoilers that I will talk about will be spoilers if you have read the book. Probably. I probably won't talk about anything from the movie because I don't know what from the movie is in the book and all of that kind of stuff. It is mostly going to be how I feel It Chapter 2 versus the original 1990 It connected with the book, or were true to the book in any sense. And also maybe anything that I know from researching Stephen King lore before going to see this It. So I think that might be what I focus on first, just to kind of get it out of the way. From what I know of the book and from what I've read so far, they did a great job at sticking to that source material. A lot of the introduction to the Adult Losers Club does follow the same steps and formula that the 1990 It followed, with the introduction and some of the things that each Adult Losers Club member experiences. It does have different flashbacks for each kid later on throughout the film. And while I had issues with the 1990 It switching between the adults and the kids Losers Club, because it felt like it slowed the pace down for me, in this one they flowed so seamlessly together that it didn't really matter. And as for Chapter 2 being close to the source material, from the 70-ish pages that I have read, which is really just the introduction to Stanley and Richie, plus the scene, the killing of Adrian at the beginning, that is at the beginning of this film. Oh my gosh. They were both fairly true. There are some scenes that they couldn't really show because it's a Stephen King book and he kind of gets sexually graphic at points, and I don't think that's something that they're going to show because this isn't 50 Shades of Grey. But the scene on the bridge where the Derry townies do kill Adrian because he is gay, well, they don't necessarily kill him, they just toss him, they beat him up really bad and toss him off a bridge, and then Pennywise is the one that kills him too. That scene is so powerful, and I think was the first time I started tearing up. I actually surprisingly teared up and cried a lot in this film. I've been crying a lot in movies recently, especially since Endgame. I don't know what it is. Just, I've been so much more emotionally in tune with movies recently. But there are just so many scenes in this that got so emotional and I felt so strongly in them. There are a lot of funny scenes. It is so funny, especially the scenes between Richie and Eddie. Richie is played by Bill Hader and he is just, so great. And speaking of Bill Hader and the rest of this cast, all of the adult castings of the Losers Club were so perfect. All of them looked very similar to their younger counterpart, especially Ben. The guy that they cast to play older Ben, he looks exactly like him, just thinner and more grown up. He's got a more defined cheek structure. Facially, he looks very similar and it's crazy. But out of all of the adult losers, the one who was the most true to the younger version of their character was the actor who played Eddie. I should be looking up their names and saying each actor's name. I apologize, but he did such a great job. And I don't know if it's just because Eddie is my favorite character, because Jack Dylan Glazer was my favorite out of the Losers Club, yes, even over Finn Wolfhard in the 2017 It. Plus, if you watched my review of the 1990 It, the two clips I pulled to show how terrifying Pennywise was to me were both the same sort of clip of Eddie. I don't know. I think I'm a little bit of a hypochondriac. But the entire cast in this was so great. The casting was so spot on. It was so perfect. They all worked well together. I would not say that it's my favorite over the first one, because I feel like the younger cast worked together and they had a little bit better of a chemistry. But I think that was just because they were younger and the characters had been around, like, together a lot longer. In chapter 2, it is more of the adults. They've moved out of Derry and they've forgotten each other, so they're kind of getting reacquainted and getting to know each other, because the chemistry does build up as the film goes on, which I think is a great little thing that Andy Muschietti plus the actors put in there. They build up their chemistry as the movie goes on to show that they're remembering their old selves and they're kind of getting in the groove again. And in contrast to the opening scene with the killing that is actually based on a real life event that makes it even harder to watch, there are some lighter scenes in this, and there is a scene in the Chinese restaurant that is done in the 1990 version. That scene, and then the scene of Mike and Bill repairing silver in that film, were both just kind of very awkward. Not awkward, but they just were weird and they didn't necessarily fit the overall tone of the film for me. In this one, some of those lighter scenes I feel like are done a lot better. They're done well. They add levity at the right points, but then they also take it like 10 steps farther down the scare factor. And Muschietti does such a great job of mixing the comedy, the drama, the horror, the emotional part really, really well in this film. And some final thoughts before I give my full score for this. Number one is they got Stephen effing King. I don't know how many films that he has done of his books that he has been in besides Pet Sematary. Probably some other ones, but oh my god, like, Stephen King. And he was hilarious. I loved his part. It was a scene of him and Bill. It was James McAvoy. And if you know Bill's character, he is an author. He is the character that Stephen King based off of himself. I'm almost 100% sure. And the two of them, not like necessarily riffing off each other, but playing at each other is hilarious. Number two is the emotionality of this. Yes, I cried a lot. I cried in the opening sequence, and I cried in the scene where Bev took back her power and left her husband because he was acting exactly like her father. That just felt like such a powerful, strong moment, and it was a really great moment for Beverly's character, and it solidified her as a great female character. And there's a bunch, like, the entire third act was super emotional for me as well. Just like the nervousness of it all was so great, and there were some really great touching moments towards the end of the entire group together and with Stan. Yes, there's a bit with Stan at the end. It was really great. Stan also looks a lot like the kid that played him. You don't really get a lot of his acting ability to act like the character, but you do get the look. That is what a lot of these actors, they just look a lot like their character, or they look a lot like their younger selves, but they also are just great actors as well. And then the third and final thing, and it kind of goes along with the emotionality part, is this. The entire time, and I did not feel this while I was watching the first half of this movie, and I've watched the first half of this movie so many times. I didn't feel it when I was in the theater either, which is strange because I was a little bit more of a scaredy cat back in 2017. The entire time I was sitting there having like mini panic attacks, so panicky and stressed. I could feel like when I start getting a panic attack, I just feel like this weight on my chest and it's hard for me to breathe. And I felt like that the entire time, but it was like in a weirdly good way. I've never had that feeling in a good way. Well, maybe I have a couple times. I was just like, so nervous the entire time, and it was so intense. Something I didn't mention, and I was asked this by a friend earlier today, it's long. It's almost 3 hours. It's 2 hours and 49 minutes, but with the trailers, it's over 3 hours long. They asked if it felt long, and I said yes, but no. It feels really fast, especially in the first and third acts. Then there's a part in the second act where it does start to slow itself down, and it's not the parts that you would think where they're switching between the younger Losers Club and the older Losers Club, because those do intertwine very, very well. It's just this like weird part in the middle after they kind of build all of that up, and then before they go to its lair. There's just like this weird little spot in the middle that felt like it dragged a little bit. It could have gone a little quicker, but at the same time, all that stuff in the middle was kind of necessary. None of it really felt like it could have been cut out, because I feel like a lot of it was necessary for character growth and to get them to work together and to learn more about the characters. But that is my full thoughts. I absolutely love this movie. I think I'd give it like a 4.5 out of 5 because I have this one and this one. You know I'm gonna be adding this to my collection. I loved it so much. I want to watch it again like already. I need it. I'm pre-ordering it as soon as pre-orders come out. I want to get another lenticular cover like this. If you have not seen this lenticular cover, it's amazing and I am obsessed with it. No, you cannot get it anymore. I know people have been asking me about it. It was a Target exclusive back in 2017 when I first got it. It's like the best. I will put a link to a reseller from Amazon in the description. Let me know your thoughts on It Chapter 2 in the comments down below. Which of the three, if you have seen this one, There's a Plane, and the Chapter 2, wow, that's loud. Okay, let me know out of these two, I'm counting both parts of this as one, plus it in Chapter 2, or, you know, Chapter 2 and this one, and then this one. Which one is your favorite? Let me know. I think this one is my favorite. I absolutely love this one. I love the introduction to Pennywise. That's another thing I don't think I talked about is Bill Skarsgård in this is so much better than he is in It Chapter 2. It's very weird. You don't get to see him as much, but there is one really, really great scene that you see in the trailer that it's very creepy, and Bill Skarsgård did a great job in that. But the rest of it, it is a little like, Pennywise, you could have done a little bit better. But thank you guys so much for watching. I really, truly do appreciate you. Whoever you are, let me know if you are in the comments down below, and let's be friends. If you enjoyed this, leave a like and subscribe if you're new, because I have talking things, movies, TV shows, filmmaking, mystery, all that fun stuff. And I'll see you next time. Bye.